Today I'd like to talk about depression and anxiety in traditional Chinese medicine. Last time we were talking a little bit about anxiety and about qi and yin and yang, and I just really want to emphasize that Chinese medicine really focuses on our balance and harmony with the environment, and so lifestyle factors are really critical in maintaining health and longevity, and that's really the beauty in the medicine is that it really focuses on those factors. And so today I hope that with some understanding of some of the disharmonies and the pathological process in Chinese medicine, that you get an understanding of some really simple things, effective tools that you can do starting right now if you're experiencing anxiety and depression that can help you feel better so that you can, you know, get out there and get some help for yourself, get some professional help. And so just to start, I want to talk about the three treasures. The three treasures are really important in Chinese medicine. It's kind of what we think in Western medicine, the idea of mind, body, and spirit. So we talked about qi a little bit last time about how qi is moving within the environment, in and out within ourselves, and that we can't really sustain life without qi. But we're also talking about essence. Essence is something that we're given from our parents, and we to maintain that essence, we're given it, but we also can add to it through our lifestyle. And so it's really important throughout our life to maintain longevity and to keep our essence, to do certain things with proper diet, proper lifestyle factors, getting proper sleep. And then there's spirit. Spirit is something that you think of when you think of thinking, consciousness. It has a lot to do with, as practitioners, when we're looking at somebody, it's the sparkle in their eyes, the sparkle in their face, the way they're thinking about things, how they're reacting to their environment. So it's this whole idea of mind, body, and spirit. In Chinese medicine, when we think about the pathological process, like how does this happen? We have external causes, we have internal causes, we have non-external causes, non-internal causes. And so some of the external causes in Chinese medicine that they discovered 2,000 years ago, way before viruses or bacteria that we had any understanding of that, they would call it the six evil qis. So you would think of wind, heat, cold, damp. So those are some of them. There's six of them. And then you think about the seven emotions, and those are internal causes. So you think of like anger, anxiety, worry. For example, I was just thinking like grief. The emotion grief is associated with the lung meridian. The emotion anger, which we're going to talk about a lot, about anger and irritability, is associated with the liver meridian. The idea of fear is associated with the kidney meridian. And lots of times in anxiety and depression, you see a lot of worry that's associated with the spleen meridian. And then there's this concept of joy. And joy we think of as a really positive thing, but there can be excessive joy, and you can see it to the point of sort of manic, and that's associated with heart meridian. And heart meridian is really a big part of a lot of the disharmonies when we're thinking about psychological disorders of depression, anxiety, bipolar, schizophrenia. And then there's the idea of non-external and non-internal causes, and those are lifestyle factors. So we think about diet. We also think a lot about overexertion, feeling tired, not taking care of yourself. And they put also in that category the idea of parasites, excessive sexual activity. And so a lot of excessive types of behavior you put in that category. And so in terms of depression and anxiety, I like to really focus on the seven emotions. And then a couple of the non-external, non-internal causes, so lifestyle factors. And overexertion. And, I was sharing with Dr. Lynn last week, it was Valentine's Day, and I went to Costco, I went to Trader Joe's, I went to Bartell's, which is sort of a local Northwest drugstore here, and, there are all these huge displays of flowers in the store, and I just saw in each store I went to, these men were standing in front of these bouquets of flowers, and you just hear these huge sighs, and like, and that's really the expression of the liver meridian is being affected, just kind of that irritability. But you could imagine over time people could start getting especially in this culture, there's a lot of stress, a lot of irritability. You're on the go all the time. You know, you're not eating properly. You know, you're not sitting down and resting and relaxing when you're eating. And so you start seeing the liver meridian getting affected. And over time, you can see this pattern. One of the patterns, a common pattern that we see is, and I think Dr. Lynn will talk about this too, is when the cortisol starts getting elevated, you start seeing the blood pressure up all the time. People might notice they're getting angry, their face is really red, they might be getting headaches. And then over time, the liver meridian is getting more affected, and it starts attacking or attacking some of the other meridians, like the spleen meridian might be attacked, and that's really associated with digestion. And so you see people not absorbing their nutrients very well. So now they're not even getting the nutrients that they need. They start having a lot of digestive issues. You'll start feeling, you know, when you're anxious or depressed, your stomach is hurting constantly. So, and some of the other meridians can be affected as well, the heart and the kidney. So
what did that sign represent?
The sign, yeah. So the sign is representing that the liver meridian is actually what we call the chi is becoming stagnant. It's not moving very well in the meridian. So it's a sign that liver meridian is affected. And so some of the things that, you know, we think about in terms of helping people, especially when they're starting to feel anxiety or depression, is we really focus on the diet. And so in Chinese medicine, there's this idea is that food has different qualities to it. So there's a neutral quality, there's warming qualities to really hot, there's cooling to really cold. And so we want the diet to stay pretty, when you're not feeling well, we want the diet to stay pretty neutral to slightly cool to slightly warm. And so you want to really avoid things that are really stimulating or depleting to the body. So it's really critical at the time when you're not feeling well to really avoid as much as you can caffeine. And if you're drinking a lot of coffee or drinking a lot of caffeinated tea, you want to slowly decrease it so that you don't have rebound headaches. But even cutting it back by a third, and you know, over a week, and then another third, and so on until you quit. You really want to give yourself a really good baseline by avoiding like sugar, what we call damp producing foods, sugar, greasy foods you really want to avoid. Processed foods as much as possible you want to avoid. And we really have this rule of 80% you really want to eat well, and 20% you kind of can goof off a little bit, eat the things that you really enjoy. But when you're not feeling well, you want to, as much as you can, really focus on, as I said, neutral foods. So when you think of like protein, you want to think of like chicken, like seafood. You want to focus on salmon, cod, halibut. You want to focus on a wide variety of vegetables, even just lightly cooked or steamed, so that it's easy to it's easy for your body to process it. And you know, a couple fruits a day would be really good, and a handful of nuts, a handful of seeds. You want to just keep it as simple. When you're not feeling well, you want to keep it really simple for yourself.
It's amazing, really.
Yeah.
I have to interject.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How much change can happen just by diet attention, even though it might be the hardest thing
Right.
to do. It's
Right.
actually one of the things you see make the biggest impact over time.
Yeah, definitely. And even just within 2 weeks, somebody can really get a good idea how much their diet is affecting their mood. And then with grains, you could focus more on like cooked rice and quinoa. Maybe do if you can, avoid wheat and gluten, just because we see nowadays it's really affecting a lot of people's moods and behaviors. And I was going to mention too a book that will give you even a better idea, but a really great book that we use in natural medicine a lot is Healing with Whole Foods, Asian Tradition and Modern Nutrition by Paul Pitchford. So have you heard about that book? Oh, okay. So it's going to really talk about a lot of, give you idea of what are neutral foods. I've just kind of touched on them. And then we also, there's this thing in Chinese medicine too about rhythms and nature. So lots of times when we're depressed or anxious, our rhythms are really off. We're not getting we're not going to bed at the same time. We might be staying up all night, or we have that, we're to that point where we're really tired at night, but we're wired, and so we're not sleeping, or we're waking up multiple times a night. But you want to try to see if you can wind down 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed. So not to watch like stimulating news or social media. Some people are wearing, like the blue filtered glasses, just to make sure you're not having anything that could interfere with your rhythms when you're sleeping. And then making sure that you're eating regularly 2 to 3 times a day around the same time, and as much as you can to sit down and actually eat, not eat in the car, eat on the go, which in this society most of us are doing. But it's so critical just for self-care at this point to kind of get yourself back on balance, to try to get these rhythms in place. It will make a huge difference, just the diet, and your sleep cycle, and just to keep them pretty much at the same time for a while. And just a neutral diet will be really important. And then another thing is there's just some really simple acupressure points that people can use if they're not able to get to an acupuncturist yet, or see someone, just to kind of start helping themselves feel better. One of them, a big one, is if you're feeling like you're having a lot of irritability or anger, and you're feeling really tense. One of them is LI4, large intestine 4, and it's really, if you just look at the web of your hand here, so your thumb and your finger, you want to take your other thumb and just kind of, you'll just maybe half an inch in, you'll feel a really tender spot, and just go ahead and press on that, 20 or 30 seconds. And you can do it on the other side as well. And you can do that as often as you're feeling like really stressed or tired, and that's just really helping the chi move in the liver meridian. So kind of that sighing, that I was talking about in the grocery store, that's something that you could start doing as soon as you start feeling that, that you kind of hear yourself doing that. And then another one is pericardium 6. So when people are feeling a lot of anxiety, their heart is racing, they're having difficulty breathing,
like a panic attack.
Yeah, like a panic attack, or going towards a panic attack. Just take 3 fingers, and you're going to go up from your wrist, 3 fingers. Yeah. And so where your 3rd finger falls here, you'll feel 2 tendons, and you're going to just kind of press on that, once again, 20 or 30 seconds. So that's a really good point to do when you're starting to feel really anxious. If you're also feeling like all your energy is in your head, and you're just thinking constantly, we have a grounding technique to really help people ground. And so imagine this is the bottom of my foot. So we use like a tennis ball or anything that you can to press on the bottom of your foot. So if for example, these are my toes and this is the heel, you want to break it up into 3 parts from the toes to the heel. And about a third of the way down, there's this point in your foot. You'll feel it. There's a depression, and you can just kind of really press on that with a ball or with something under your feet, and then just breathe deeply, like a couple big belly breaths. And at the same time, kind of look in your environment, like identify 2 things. What are you hearing? What are you seeing? Touch something. So you're just trying to get your energy out of your head and into your body. And so that's a really good grounding technique that I like to teach patients. It's a good point for acupuncture too, if somebody can actually come in and see an acupuncturist. And then there's Chinese herbs. Chinese herbs are really effective in mental health issues, but there's something that they're very complex, and they need to be diagnosed by a Chinese medicine practitioner, because it's more along the lines of the pharmaceutical realm. But some simple things for like the liver, you could drink like peppermint or spearmint tea. That's really soothing. Chamomile tea is really calming, and I think Dr. Lin is going to talk about some other herbs as well, but it is something that I want to say that is so helpful for people, Chinese herbs. But like I said, that you really need to see a qualified practitioner for that, because if you don't take the right formula for the right diagnosis, it won't be effective, or it could cause some other disharmonies. And then I also just wanted to stress that, it's not just me it's not just Chinese herbs and the other lifestyle factors that I was mentioning, but acupuncture is really effective. There's a lot of studies, one of them dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder and active veterans. They see, besides it helping with PTSD, seeing other parameters are really positive effect on it is decrease in anxiety, depression, physical symptoms. We also see it with people who are taking SSRIs like Paxil. We're seeing that there's better effects sooner if they're doing the Paxil and acupuncture. They're feeling better even 1 week out on different scales that they are looking, different depression type scales. And then they just see secondary effects where generalized anxiety disorders improved, besides depression. So acupuncture, is really, even showing in studies, is really showing to be, clinically significant in helping situations, and as well as in rat studies, they're seeing a lot of improvements in terms of gene expression for depression, oxidative stress, and inflammatory markers. So we're learning more and more what this, ancient medicine already had a lot to tell us, is already there, but we're studying it more, and we're even seeing, what it's doing scientifically. Yeah, the scientific proof. Yeah. But it is there. But so yes, thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.